Hello.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
I can.
Okay, great. So let's start it again. This Phantom Electric Ghost, and this is our anchor Phantom Electric Ghost show. And we interview indie artists from around the world. We're going to be talking to The Muted, and we talked to him previously on our other platform, Spearman, but now we're on Anchor. And so let's get started. Like an introduction of the punk band, The Muted, or alternative band, The Muted. So how are you guys?
Yeah, good, thank you.
doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I've been, I'm always working. I've been moved to this new platform because Spearman moved toward just doing videos for podcast and stopped doing their support for the conversation. And then they actually told me about this app, and they kind of said, hey, if you want to keep on doing what you're doing, why don't you try Anchor? And this platform's been pretty good. We've been interviewing a lot of different people, and we've been taking some of the old episodes from Spearman and put them out there. We've got your old episode from Spearman up on this platform.
That's cool. Thank you.
And, yeah, so it's pretty cool. And they actually do listener support on this platform, so people can actually subscribe and help fund the podcasters at different levels, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's pretty interesting, and there's a lot of stuff going on, with the platform. They're trying to move out, and one of the coolest things about this platform, it actually creates real podcasts, which means this is on Spotify as a podcast, this is on Apple as a podcast, it's on Radio Public, on like 8 other platforms. So that's really good. So like you guys had the album Rip Jeans and Snake Bites, and you've been supporting that, right? And I think you had said you were going to do some shows in London. So maybe you can talk about kind of where we left off last time. Where were you going with that record, and what you're doing to support it?
Well, we played one show so far. We kind of would like to play more in the future, but we're kind of busy, and we're kind of just, I don't know, working on new music at the same time, but also kind of getting in contact with other promoters, and hopefully we're going to do some more shows next year. We're pretty busy this year in the studio, I guess.
Oh, so you're working up on a follow-up to the record, or you're working on singles or just other projects?
Yeah, we're hoping to release maybe a single this year, and then maybe a few more like early next year, and then hopefully do quite a lot of shows next year. A lot more than this year, anyway.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've been in a mode of just recording this year myself, rather than doing shows, because I like to play in New York. But I just been spending all my money on gear and recording.
Yeah. Same with us.
I kind of went crazy buying Moogs and Euroracks and going crazy with my sound. But sometimes you gotta take your art. You say, well, no, I'm actually gonna focus on the music, and then later you go and say, well, now I want to take this on the road.
Yeah.
So you guys, so when you had your show, how was that?
Yeah, it went quite well. It was our first show ever, so yeah, it was a bit of hard work getting used to it, but it went well overall, I think.
It was about 50 people there, I'd say. So
It
wasn't completely full, but there was still a little bit of a crowd, so it wasn't awkward.
Not enough to crowd surf though.
Yeah. So how'd that work out with you guys, like doing a show? Had you ever worked like with a sound guy and figuring out how to hook up to the club system and stuff? Was that the first time you ever did that you actually connected to a PA system and did all that?
Yeah, we just had to jump into it really, but it wasn't too bad. We just got used to it in the sound check, and
it's quite easy.
So when you do a sound check, how long did it take you guys to like set up?
Maybe about 15 minutes.
Yeah, it wasn't too long.
Yeah, it's just 2 of us, so it doesn't take really that much.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because a lot of things today, it's kind of hard with a lot of clubs. Like in the USA, everybody's so like DJ and hip hop focused. People just show up with a Pioneer or a laptop, and then they don't really need that much of a sound check. But if
Yeah.
you're like if you're a real band, you know, you come in there and people are like, oh, you know, because some clubs want to run through like 5 bands in a night. You know, at least that's what's
Yeah.
going on in the U.S. And it's kind of like, well, that's hard to move all your gear and only spend like 20 minutes on the stage, and you got to get off the stage real fast for the next band.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I don't know if that's what's going on in England, or if you're able to like book a show and have the whole night, or do you have to like rotate with other
Yeah,
bands?
we had a rotation. Oh, there was about 4 or 5 bands.
Yeah.
There's quite a few bands. There's like a promoter, like who kind of organised quite a few bands in like the alternative genre.
Yeah,
So-
it's like an emerging night, really.
That's
Yeah.
cool. They give you enough time to take your stuff off the stage. You have to leave everything there and then kind of take it off later.
Yeah, we managed to take it off apart from the backline.
That's yeah. There's a just the shells with the drums and you know amps there that you can borrow and stuff. So it's just about bringing your own like breakables and guitar and everything, all the important stuff.
That's cool. Yeah. So I've seen your videos. Are you working on more videos for the new stuff you're working on? Because some of the videos you had last year or this year, earlier this year, are really good. Are you continuing to work on that on top of the new material?
I think so. We hope so, but it kind of needs some ideas. Maybe if we work with somebody else as well, maybe.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we're kind of just focusing on the production of the music first, kind of trying to improve our sound quite a lot more.
So, like, are you? Like, I talked about gear. You guys like kind of like laughed. So, are you guys getting different gear for your recording, or are you going into a studio? What are you doing in that direction? Hello.
Sorry.
I guess the question was like, are you guys using different types of tools for your recording? Are you adding, more capabilities? Are you buying different equipment to record with? Are you?
Not really. We're kind of just using the same as before, but using like using different techniques, like panning like the instruments in different ways.
Oh, okay.
It's all the same equipment, but like we're just using I don't know, like just different techniques really.
Okay, so you're just learning how to use what you already have and do it, a different way.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of what's going on today with a lot of the recording techniques, there's a lot of, like new devices that give you like studio quality capabilities.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things like Neve, Neve, this guy, Robert Neve, I think he has all these like new devices you can do with these compressors and all kinds of plugins for audio quality that can give you like a sound that you would get from going to like a big studio. That you can use these hardware devices to increase your capabilities on your microphones and give you a bigger sound on your vocals, bigger sound on the guitars, just different processing other than what's on the laptops. They're like hardware devices that you can get that you can plug in through like Universal Audio and different things to like give you like a better sound and make it sound like you were in a studio, but that's what I've been looking into, the last stuff like that. But I'm always buying gadgets. But
yeah, I think it's much easier to record these days with all the software and stuff. So you can just do it at home without going to a studio or anything.
Yeah, it's just a matter of like increasing the quality of your recording. I've been trying to go toward like analog recording. Techniques, trying to bring more analog sound. I think it just has a more the feel. It's a fatter feel.
Yeah.
And when you're using if you're using analog like Moogs and stuff, and you just record it digitally, sometimes you lose part of that signal. And the kind of the charm of these analog instruments is that if you can capture them to analog devices, then you can keep the same quality though I know everything's going to go to like an MP3 or a WAV file, but if you can get that sound to feel like 1974 or something, then that's kind of like the goal for certain people. Some people are like in the modern world, they're doing stuff they don't mind the way it sounds now. But I kind of came from the 70s. I listened to these records when they came out, and there's a certain quality you can get from the old technology that you try to, take the new stuff and then merge it with the old and try to, take advantage of both.
Yeah.
I think that's a goal. And you guys being a rock band, I was wondering like how far you're into that. You're comfortable with the modern stuff.
Yeah, ours is kind of, we kind of record in the kind of late 90s, early 2000s kind of punk rock style. So
it's raw.
Yeah,
it's more raw than like the kind of new kind of mainstream pop stuff these days.
Yeah. I think you guys, it would be really cool to hear what you guys would sound like if somebody put you on a reel to reel, like if somebody took an analog reel to reel recorder, like the 1984 or something, like an old Tascam, like reel to reel recorder, and used mics and this mic you guys. I'd be really interested in hear what that sounds like, because
that'd be quite cool too.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to a pawn shop and find one of those, it's like, it's just really cool because if you guys are like a pure band, and there's so many people today, it's like they don't even know what I'm talking about because they're DJs or they're just doing everything Pro Tools or Ableton, so they don't even think about that. But when you're talking to guys who are musicians, you guys are musicians, then it's like that's kind of cool if you guys were able to do that. But yeah, I appreciate what you're doing. I hear the sound you guys do. You guys are like the kind of bands I like to talk to because you guys are like, it's cool to see young musicians still feeling that they need to do what you guys are doing. And
thank you.
That I think that's really important for people to understand that, going and playing a live show with live instruments, that is still something people need to aspire to. And I really appreciate the fact that you guys do that, and you do it with a really good level of quality. You got like a lot of passion for what you're doing, and that's what's really cool.
Thank you. I think quite a few bands these days use quite a lot of like pop artists use like backing tracks live, but we kind of want to try and keep it raw as possible, even though there's only two of us, even though it may not sound like completely good live, but
no, it's pure. It's kind of like a White Stripes kind of idea, You got two people, and it's like, it's a traditional type of thing. I mean, I'm a one-person band. I show up in New York City and I've got all my gear, but the whole goal is to sound as live as possible. I've got sequencers, but I run like analog sequencers, which means everything can be manipulated with like foot pedals and controls. So it just comes out very organic. And you're able to be electronic and then organic at the same time. And that's kind of a hybrid, kind of like Nine Inch Nails idea of doing industrial kind of punk oriented electronic music. But it's not as stagnant or stale or kind of tinny as some of the digital stuff today. Just because it kind of forces you into that when you use some of the new capabilities. Then you're kind of stuck to what your sequencer's doing. But if you use analog machines, they have a life of their own. They kind of change all the time, and it's good because it makes you feel like you have another person there. Because the variability of the analog gear, it allows you to feel like there's somebody else playing that bass line, because the mode's kind of just going off on its own. It's doing whatever it's going to do. Just because if you just modulate it will go and change it, and then you can just play the filters live and it will just adjust as you're playing. So that's that. Have you guys thought of using like analog like synths in your stuff, or you're pure still keep it more guitar oriented?
Well, in terms of live music, I think definitely like using guitars and drums, but I think maybe in our recordings we could maybe use more analog stuff and experiment a bit more.
Yeah, there's some really cool things with that Eurorack that create all kinds of crazy, sound, garnishes, or you could say it's just they add backing tracks, but they have such a like variability or weirdness to them that you could still be guitar focused, but you could have this weirdness going on. Kind of like the way Radiohead uses them, the way Wilco uses them, Magua. There's a lot of bands that use analog synths, and they're able to kind of fit it into a rock genre, or or a punk kind of genre, because they can take advantage of the weirdness going on. But I'm just a big proponent of trying to get people to use them. Multiple genres, just telling people like, just check it out, like check out a Bogan, and once you check it out, you'll want to use it. But it's just the entry into that world is kind of steep sometimes, but there's some cheap ones sitting around, so you can kind of bring it in if you wanted. But it's cool. Like, you have any things you want to talk about your new material? You want to talk about where you're going, or what's coming up?
Well, we've got a few songs working in progress, so we're working on our producing, like making the sound much better than Ripped Jeans and Snakebites.
Mm-hmm.
We feel that wasn't our best, and we're putting more effort into this and make sure it's the sound of it is like much better, just in general.
I think so.
And the playing
just more creative.
Oh, cool. Well, yeah, you're progressing, as a band, as you learn what you can do with the tools you have, you tend to get significantly, different from each release. You hope you have there's a point when you're in a band where you're very creative and you're doing your best work, and then as you grow as a band, you kind of get to the sweet spot. But I think you guys are still developing, so there's a lot of cool stuff you could be moving toward. So that's cool.
It's about experimenting.
So when you guys like your inspiration, what drives you when you're writing your material? Do you guys have, like, you guys are driven to create your own material? There's a lot of bands, they do covers, they don't do their own material. What drives you guys to like have your own ideas and do stuff? Like, what motivates you? How do you get to that place where you feel like, we're gonna write our own stuff?
Well, it just feels like more authentic and fun writing your own stuff, and you can really express yourself, like your actual feelings, rather than somebody else's in your songs. And you get to experiment with different sounds, and you can get influenced by other people as well.
I think every time we go to a concert, like just watching a band live as well, like when we come out, we just think, we want to be on that stage, we want to be doing that, and that's probably what drives us as well. Just be able to play to an audience and they have our song sung back at us. That's kind of the ambition, really.
That's cool. That's awesome. Because that's really cool to hear. Because there's a lot of people today, they drive a different direction. They go into hip hop, and that's not a bad thing. But sometimes when you go that direction, you're creative in a different way than what you guys are doing. Back in the day when I was growing up, what the couple of bands that made people want to be musicians were like the Beatles and the Stones. They were people would always mention, if you asked any artist, why do you want to do it? Because of John Lennon and Paul McCartney, because of Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. So for you guys, are there, what bands were the ones that you would say were like that for you?
Well, I think the first band we really listened to was Green Day. Mm-hmm. They got us into the like rock music rather than just listening to the radio and pop mainstream music.
And we kind of just progressed out of there and branched to loads of different bands like Blink-182 and maybe even My Chemical Romance, and then even smaller bands than that.
Yeah.
So it was their influence. The Green Day seemed to have that big influence for a lot of bands. Like a lot of
Yeah.
bands I've talked to, it's either Green Day or Nirvana. That people all the time. Kurt Cobain seems to be the big guy. I hear Green Day and Kurt Cobain like all the time.
Yeah.
Seems to be for this generation of artists today. They seem to be the ones that drive a lot of the creativity of why people wanted to get into it. Because when they saw what Kurt Cobain was doing, a lot of people initially they always like, oh, that means anybody can do it. But then if you really think about it, Nirvana isn't like the Sex Pistols. It's not simplistic. It actually is a little bit. There's a pretty deep arrangements going on, and a lot of people maybe on the face of it think it's straight punk, but it's not exactly that. It's a little deeper than that, but it has the punk aesthetic, which makes people feel like they're getting into it, because they feel like, well, he's revealing his emotions, he's saying what he feels. I think that's what's driving people to say, hey, I can do that. Oh, I want to do that, In Green Day, same ways. Like they were kind of showing people like, hey, I want to rebel, kind of like the Clash and the Sex Pistols, but a modern day version, So I think that's really, I've always been inspired like a lot as an electronic musician. A lot of bands like Who's to Do or the Replacements or Sex Pistols. A lot of heavy punk bands inspired me. And you're a keyboardist. Why would you be inspired by that? Because it's the attitude, in the songwriting. And so, in those genres, you're more free to do like anything you want to talk about. And you're not restricted to like, well, I'm trying to make a hit. But like, I don't really care about making a hit. I kind of serve what I want to do artistically. If it happens to be something that could be popular, then you craft it that way. But a lot of what I do is kind of focused on like artistic freedom.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so
that's about really.
Yeah, you guys are into that. That seems like what your driving force is to do that.
Yeah, I think it's good to listen to a wide range of music, so then you can have different influences from like different genres.
Yeah,
and get a different sound by mixing them all together.
Yeah, we're not very good at that. Really.
No.
We find it really hard to like.
I think you get better at that as you get older. You increase like what you listen to. Like I've always like encouraged people, like if you really want to get adventurous, listen to some like Miles Davis or John Coltrane, or like Sun Ra. Because if you listen to jazz, like a lot of jazz fusion jazz has a lot of rock aspects. If you listen to what the drummers do, the drummers do amazing things that any drummer could kind of like, wow, I can really learn from what's going on. And if you listen to Coltrane, if you listen to Miles Davis, you can hear very complex rhythm patterns being done, and you're like, damn, it's like, it's hard to even get close to it, but just listening to it opens your eyes to like, oh wow, that's what you could do. And when you can bring stuff like that in, even if you listen to the phrasing that John Coltrane has on his sax, Hendrix used to listen to it, and Hendrix took some of the phrasing that Coltrane did on his sax and brought it into the guitar. And some people were saying, well, how did Hendrix sound like he does? If you really listen close to Hendrix, he's bringing a lot of jazz phrasing into the place, and you would never pick that up if you don't listen to jazz. So that's so that's a cool thing to think about. Like when even classical stuff, you listen to some classical music, it can help you structure your chord arrangements. When they get more complicated, then you can use some aspects from that. And so they cross genre, work is always interesting. It will make your work stand out when you do that. Like you do a little history lesson from music history, and that always helps. I think you do what you like. You don't have to like Coltrane because people say Coltrane. You could go find something else, but just looking for things that are little oddball things. Then you can have reference points that are there, but maybe nobody knows about, not as popular. So then you can bring things in, and it's interesting. It kind of opens things up if you bring out things that people are. A lot of people sample like what's popular, or they take references from things that everybody knows. But if you go deeper and you go find something like from a Velvet Underground album, or you found something from Big Star, or you listen to Joy Division, you find something from Joy Division, or Television or one of these bands from the new age that nobody really is like using that heavy, then you can kind of have a reference point that is really interesting and could be very usable and not feel like it's ripping them off. Like it shows that you just have a little depth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. So yeah, it's interesting. It's great to see that you guys are still working on new material and that you're moving forward and building up your sound, and that you're self-critical enough to realize that you need to update what you're doing. And I think that's real important as an artist. Like you do something like in the moment, you bet what is the best thing, and then you go back and you're like a little self-critical and say, well, I could do that better. I think that's always it's a good thing for an artist to be able to do that. I think that's really positive. And I
Thank you.
give you guys kudos for doing that and being open about it. That's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Always trying to improve, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's the goal for anybody in any kind of artist. Is the real you can always, increase your capabilities and get better all the time. If you're the artist that thinks like they're the best, then they kind of get stagnant. Like if it's like, oh, I'm the best, I don't need to do anything. It's like, okay. It's like, all right, okay, I guess that's what it is. But yeah, when you realize that there's always room to move, there's always room. You see these jazz guys, they're always still pushing. You get guys like, Jagger's still doing stuff, McCartney's still doing stuff. They still think there's something new to be said. That shows you like you can keep on going. You don't have to be like done. You can keep on going.
So many different things you can do in music.
Yeah, it's just like there's so many different influences you can take and directions you can go. So it's like maybe like you could go in a little depth. I don't know if you want to reveal what you're doing, but like when you guys are like looking at increasing your capability, or specific steps you're taking that you want to tell people, or you're trying to like secret, you don't want to get into it.
I don't know. Well, we're kind of just carrying on really, but just I don't know. Well, I guess we're trying to make a good mix of kind of fast songs and slow songs at the same time.
Okay.
So trying to kind of not make everything sound too samey, and trying to
try different styles of music in it.
Yeah, almost like would you say one of the songs sounds not really like a country vibe, but like kind of like I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to do, like, you want to make a record that doesn't sound every song the same. You want varied mix, varied influences. So then when the question goes to this, do you guys think of, like, when you record your music, you think of as albums having a theme? Or do you just like an album is just like you take your best songs and you put it on an album where you try to make all the songs kind of feel like they belong together? Have you thought about, like, when you build a record, have you thought about, like, kind of, because if you go back in the 1970s, a lot of records were built on themes where if you listen to the whole record, like, wow, everything kind of flows and it feels like it belongs in that collection. Have you guys thought about stuff like that going forward, or making themed based records and things like that?
Yeah, I think we have a bit of a theme. Not really with the sound though, but the lyrics, so they all have the same theme.
Oh, that's cool.
Like Ripped Jeans and Snake Bites was kind of about the social issues, like people just following each other blindlessly, and all the songs were kind of based around that. That kind of told a bit of the story.
Yeah, I think it's good to listen to an album like all the way through as well. Definitely, like especially if it's themed. Like Ripped Jeans and Snake Bites, sometimes I think if you listen to it from top to bottom, it kind of takes you almost, it's cliche, but on a journey, like through fast to slow, and through the perspective of a guy who's mindlessly following like the crowd and everything, getting into trouble, and then at the end it kind of just breaks down into a song like Homesick, where everything's kind of gone pear-shaped.
Yeah, I felt that. Like, that's what I liked about your material, because sometimes people today are so like single focused. They put out a lot of singles And that's the way the world is, because the way Spotify is, the way iTunes and Tidal, they kind of, people don't seem to have the patience to listen to theme-based records. Except like in hip hop, there seems to be a trend where you got like Kanye West, and if you listen to like Kendrick Lamar, they've had theme-based records that people
Yeah.
seem to listen to all the way through. But within like the rock genre, there's been like a drop off since like Green Day did what they did, and bands doing things like that, and the public really being into it as much as they are in hip hop, which I'm always like waiting to say, where's the next great like rock band to do like what Green Day did, what Pearl Jam did, what Nirvana did,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you guys are aspiring in the direction, and that's cool to see.
Thank you.
You're going that way, and if you keep on pushing, everything's possible. It's like art is something that nobody can control what is in your guys' heads. You guys can bring that to the world, and you do something amazing. It's gonna resonate. And
Yeah.
I think you guys are really going in that direction with the stuff you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just think
Yeah.
if you can get some people to jump on the bandwagon, and hopefully we can push this out and get more fans to follow you guys.
Yeah.
Because now that we're on all these platforms, it's going to go out to like 10 different platforms. That this conversation, and then we're going to be able to. We'll put hyperlinks to your record on it, and yeah, we'll keep on pushing. And when you guys are ready for your next project and it's closer, to coming out, or you got the singles ready or that full record, we can come back and promote it.
Sure. Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Very good.
Is there anything else you want to talk to your fans about?
Still don't have any fans, but no.
You got guys following you on Spotify. I see there's people following you.
Yeah. But I don't know, really. Just stick with us, and yeah, hopefully we can get better and play more shows, and yeah,
Release more music.
keep on going.
Yeah, well, that's the goal. So we keep on pushing you guys out. Get you guys on some Spotify playlist. That's the goal. Get you guys on a good playlist to get heavy rotation. That's to get your YouTube videos to really get picked up. See if you can get other podcasters and bloggers to talk about you or interview you. We're thinking about doing a YouTube show eventually. So eventually, we might be able to do like a video interview with you guys and push it out. So,
yeah.
So when we get to that point, we'll talk to you about that. And yeah, we're always looking to increase what we're doing. Like we said, Anchor is listener supported. Part of what we're trying to do in the future is do a YouTube version of the show where we'll have a co-host. We might have a female co-host that will interview people too. And so, yeah, a lot of what we're going to do in the future is we're going to keep on pushing. And right now we're kind of Uber Lyft supported.
Yeah.
Because I do that as my side gig. But,
nice.
fans want to start helping us out, this for free. But if we get support and we can increase our capability, get on Twitch, do a YouTube version of the show, there's a lot of things we could do. So there is a user support. You can subscribe for $1, $5, $9, and people will be able to get the benefits of fan elected ghost tracks before other people get them. We'll be able to give you people information about other bands. We do promotional efforts and work with other bands on stuff like that. So when we poster on that, if there's stuff you guys want to do and push out, we can talk about it offline. But yeah, so hope everybody enjoyed this episode. We talked to the Muted, and you guys go out there and support them. They're on all the platforms, and when they're playing a live show, go see them, buy their merch, listen to their music, go on YouTube, like them, subscribe to them, tell everybody about them, be a real fan.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys. Keep on doing a good fight. Keep on writing.
Thank you.
Thanks for the support.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.